Hopefully this will be the last video I ever have to watch on this. I feel like the hypocrisy of the voice acting community and the lies that have been spread by so many voice actors is done coming to light. And hopefully we can get Genshin back, some actors who do their fucking jobs. But apparently Joe weighs in on what is actually going on with the VAs, what's going on with the strike. And yeah, hopefully games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail can actually have, I don't know, voice characters. Let's get into it. I heard this video is pretty controversial. I'm pretty well researched on this topic and everything going on with it, even being threatened a lawsuit by Corinna Boatger's lawyer. So that's very exciting.
So, we've lost.
That being said, all of these voice actors would be so much happier if they just use code BALDY to buy some Happy Juice off gamersubs.gg today. Get yourself some Happy Juice, boys.
Lost our shared humanity over a f***ing gotcha game.
Of course. Nobody's surprised.
Okay, guys, it's time we had to talk about Genshin, Hoyo, and the strike because, man, it sucks out there right now. And before I start, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who I consulted with while I was writing this script, okay? I talked with union members, I talked with non-union members, talent and fans, etc. My goal here is twofold: educate and de-escalate. So a big thank you to all the people that helped me get grounded and get the facts before getting started. If you haven't seen my original video where I explained the
strike itself, video we're about to watch.
I'm going to go over a little bit of it again here, but you might want to check that out first before diving into the incredible amount of nuance that I'm about to do in this
Should be easy. I'll explain it.
This video is designed, and I want you to pay attention here, to outline facts.
Yep.
And in any case, where I absolutely have to inject my opinion, I've done my best to make it clear that I'm doing so. It's not here to render judgment on studios or casting directors, Hoyo, the fandom, actors, nobody. The reason I'm making this is because I've gotten so many questions, and the internet situation is so weird every day from well-meaning individuals in the community asking for updates on the SAG-AFTRA strike and recasts, etc. Stuff that most actors really don't have any insight on, right? We're just actors. We don't know what Hoyo is thinking, etc., etc. But given that nearly every social media platform has become a powder keg, I'm getting a little tired of seeing our shared humanity deteriorate over a gacha game, okay? The social phenomenon that is Genshin Impact and its follow-on Hoyo games have changed the voice acting industry and fandom in many ways. It's very, very unique. Some ways that I don't think are that great. This is my attempt to bring us back to reality with some facts. If you're looking for more toxicity or someone like spilling the tea, you are absolutely in the wrong place on this video.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll do that, guys. I got y'all.
The other thing that I want to say is that I don't speak for any individual other than myself, even though I did a lot of research and talking with a lot of people to come up with the script for this video. The things I'm presenting here are what I believe to be true based on years of working in this industry, conversations with other actors, agents, directors, studios, etc., etc. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a negotiator, or anyone who has the power to go out and affect change, okay? I'm someone trying to spread understanding in my role as a teacher and an actor in a world full of viral social media posts that are both untrue and inflammatory. And that's what we need.
Horrible.
We need shared understanding.
Lies spread so quickly on the internet.
First, let's briefly recap the SAG-AFTRA video game strike. The Actors Union is currently on strike, which means its members are not allowed to work for video games only, for a select group of production companies, in the effort of bringing formal protections into our contracts regarding our voices being used for the purposes of AI. This means that actors who are a member of the union, SAG-AFTRA, are not allowed to work on those certain struck games from those certain struck companies. I'll say it again. The strike is for specific union games, for specific union signatories, for actors that are a member of the union. Games that are non-union, meaning that their companies are not signed to union contracts, are by definition not struck. In addition to that, games that started production before the strike are also not struck. It's a very confusing atmosphere, I know, but I can relieve that confusion for Genshin fans specifically by saying this. Do you know what company isn't in that select group of production companies being struck?
Hoyoverse.
Hoyo. I can't.
They lying to y'all's ass, bruh! They just trying to get a bag, bruh! That's crazy!
Cannot emphasize enough that MiHoYo properties are not and never have been union games. Therefore, Genshin has never been a struck property. There are 0 union rules governing Genshin or any MiHoYo game.
Oh, man!
End of story, as of this date. This is not a debate. This means, and I want you to listen very carefully here, if the SAG-AFTRA strike ended tomorrow, this would mean absolutely nothing for Hoyo Games and its actors. If suddenly WB and Formosa, Keywords, all the rest, threw a ticker tape parade and said, "We agree to all the actors' demands, yay!" Nothing would change for Genshin or Star Rail or Triple Z or any other non-union game.
So these voice actors took another cause with a separate ordeal and brainwashed this very stupid community. And I mean that genuinely. Very dumb community believed all that shit. without fact-checking shit and said, oh, these poor VAs. Man, guys, can you believe that? The Hoyo community believing misinformation in 2025. Man, I cannot believe that.
Point number one. Please stop talking about Genshin like it has anything to do with the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yep.
Genshin is not a union game. The actors working on it are not working under a union contract. Period. Put a pin in that, okay? Because we're going to come back to the idea of union and non-union actors in a minute, now that we've sort of covered union and non-union games. Okay, so why the hell?
I wonder why so many are disliked then. Oh, you want to know why? Because this video made them mad because they realize they're stupid and they don't like that. Yeah, they don't like that. They don't like realizing, wait a minute, but I like these guys. They're doing fucked up things, but they're my good boys. Yeah, quit that. Oh, stop that. Press the dislike button quick.
Aren't actors?
It was probably brigaded too. I'll be real, man. My videos get hella brigaded. Dude, even the other day with my Mr. Pokey video, that shit got hella brigaded. I got sent a screenshot of that shit being posted in his Discord, then hella people came in all saying the same shit. Once again, Mr. Pokey can't do anything about that. But even still, brigading is a thing that happens very often.
Going in to record lines for Genshin if it's not struck. When the strike happened, many Genshin actors got together in various disparate channels and decided that now would be a good time to try to engage with Hoyo and encourage them to take some action. Actors could use the momentum, the social momentum of the SAG-AFTRA strike to include Hoyo properties in the conversation. Again though, it's not a strike and it has nothing to do with the union. Since this is not a strike, I'm not going to call it a strike. From here on, I'm going to call it a collective work refusal.
Sure.
Because it's not governed by any one body like SAG-AFTRA. There is no one result desired like a collective bargaining agreement, and there is no penalty for not participating, unlike the SAG-AFTRA strike. If you are a union member and you cross the line and record games you're not supposed to, you can be penalized. In a non-union environment, that doesn't exist. So, what did Genshin actors want? This is where some of the confusion kind of begins. The goal wasn't really totally clear. Some actors wanted them to sign a union agreement and flip union, become a union game. You might have heard this called an interim agreement, which just has to do with an agreement that's going on during a strike, or a full union contract. There's some nuance of difference here. Because Genshin's an ongoing game, they're essentially the same thing. Others wanted them to just add AI protections into their non-union contract. Something like the Nava rider, okay? Which is something that any actor can attach to any contract to legally protect themselves against AI exploitation. And some actors understandably didn't really know what to think about the whole thing, but they were motivated by the social side, solidarity, social obligation, community.
It's really crazy how Paimon's voice actor was talking about how easy it is to get into a union. But then 3 years ago, a leaked interview came out and she said that she was forced to join a union. Yeah. Wonder why there was such a switch up.
Feeling, and they also refused to work. This is part of the problem of non-union games, or non-union anything, actually. Since there's no actual collective bargaining agreement governed by any union, it becomes difficult for a group of people to take a collective action. In social psychology, you call this a collective action problem. It's very complicated. So anytime a group of non-union actors tries to get together to achieve any result, it's hard. It's hard for us to communicate.
Many streamers dismiss this video before even playing it because their chat misled them to think this guy was biased when saying bullshit and always saying facts. Let me ask you a question. Were those streamers predominantly Hoyo games players? Man, I wonder why the chat was saying that.
It's hard for us to bargain. Since there are no rules in place, any actor is free to just disregard that collective effort at any time with no penalty. Unlike, again, an actual strike where you can get fined or kicked out of the union for strike breaking. So, as a result, some actors simply kept working. Some actors...
It doesn't matter if the person making the video is biased, if they're only stating objective truths and informing you of what is an opinion and what is not. It doesn't matter if he's biased.
Stopped working and then went back to work after only a few weeks of refusing to come in. Some actors stuck it out and haven't been recast. Some actors stuck it out and have been recast. Ultimately, the decision to work or not to work has become a very individual and not a collective decision. So you can see how the waters are already very muddy here. Now, let me muddy them further. In January 2025, a new California law, AB 2602, was put into effect. It says that unless there is very specific wording in a contract telling an actor that a digital replica, an AI clone, will be created of them, then it is illegal to do so. That actor must also be professionally represented and not an independent agent, or the company may not create a digital replica of their work even if they put it in the contract. So an uneducated actor without an agent can't just accidentally stumble into a contract that steals their voice. Since, to my knowledge, no Hoyo contract specifically says they will make a digital replica using an actor's data, they are therefore, by AB 2602, specifically prohibited from doing so. Therefore, any California actor is now protected from having a digital replica made by Hoyo. This means that the barrier for returning to work for many California actors has been achieved. There's more. This law, AB 2602, only prevents a company from a one-to-one digital replica. So Hoyo can't take my voice without my permission and make Risley lines, but it doesn't prevent them from using my voice to train models or blending my voice.
Yeah, this is the voice actor of Risley, by the way.
With another person's to create a new and unique voice. This is kind of like a weird, unclear loophole part of the law. I'm actually fairly confident will get clarified over time, but you also have to remember that the whole world is kind of in a legal flail right now, trying to catch up to the technology. As an aside, right, the Nava writer and presumably the union contract would have that added layer of protection about training and blending. But we're not totally sure right now on the union contract side because that hasn't been agreed on yet, hence the continued strike. So we don't know what that final contract will contain. Genshin being under a union contract would also award the actors the added intended benefit of having the SAG-AFTRA legal team behind them. If Hoyo or any company decides to disregard the contract and make replicas anyway, it would be up to the individual actor to sue them in a non-union contract. A complicated, expensive thing to do for a single individual, to the point of, honestly, like near impossibility. I'm not going to go toe-to-toe with Hoyo using my own...
Yeah, 100%. In a situation like an individual versus a corporation, the individual is almost always going to lose.
Legal team, which I don't have. But it's much easier for a union with 160,000 members in it to do so on an actor's behalf. Now, the historical effectiveness of SAG-AFTRA's legal team could be called into question here as to whether or not they would do the job or do a good job, but I'm trying to outline the principles here, okay? A union contract would afford an actor the protection if Hoyo or any other game company broke that contract. So, the non-union world has protection via the California law, yes, but not full protection. And if violated, it will be very difficult for a non-union actor to prosecute a billion-dollar company on their own. Are you seeing how difficult this situation is yet? How unclear it is for even the people involved? Now, could Hoyo make this situation completely vanish by simply signing a union contract? Yes, they absolutely could. It's a good argument to make. It seems like a flawless argument to make, actually, if you have limited understanding of how union contracts work and what the implications are for the company, financially, legally, procedurally. There's more to...
Here's the reality everybody's got to get, though. Hoyo don't got to do shit. Yep. They're not really in a position to where they got to give a fuck. Yep. China and JP, they're fine. Those are the money makers anyways. They can just recast and rehire all new VAs. Nobody cares. Nobody would care. They just want to play the game and have voices in the game. They want to stop being have to read. They don't care. Yeah, I don't foresee this strike going anywhere.
Than just pencil whipping a contract, okay? Negotiations take time and patience, and the bigger the company, the longer they take. When you're trying to kind of shoehorn a gigantic foreign company into a discussion about United States labor law, things can get confusing really fast. But it is important.
So that's why I'm glad Wu-Wai used all these bootleg voice actors from Europe, because they ain't ever gonna do that shit because they ain't a fucking stuck-up American. Yep, hey, we're all thinking it, man. We're all thinking it.
To say that, yes, Hoyo could absolutely make all this go away by just signing a union contract. Talks to that effect have been going on for a long time, with ups and downs and starts and stops, but I can't speak to them as to whether or why not Hoyo is going to do it. We can argue all day whether or not that would be the right thing to do, right? Or whether or not a corporation has like moral obligation or even a moral sense of duty. They
don't got to do shit, man. They're just there to make money. We all know it. I've been fighting a losing battle for years.
Not this video, but one thing we can't argue about is that it would definitively bring back every single actor that is collectively refusing to work on Hoyo properties right now. It would bring them back instantaneously. While I've said that these things are complicated, and they are, we also have to zoom out and acknowledge the elephant in the room here, okay? Hoyo is not a scrappy indie dev trying to count pennies to make it by. This is a multi-billion-dollar company operating on a global scale. If anyone has the resources, legal muscle, and the infrastructure to navigate a union contract, it's them. I said I would avoid speculation in this video, so I won't start throwing around ideas as to why Hoyo hasn't done this yet, other than what I've already said. But I do want to emphasize that this action is absolutely well within their power. Other companies like them in China have signed union agreements in the past. So yes, the paperwork is real, the finances are real, the international complications are real, but let's be honest, resource constraints are not the barrier here. And that's part of...
The problem is that this would really limit any VA they want to work with if they're not a part of that union. Right? And a lot of VAs don't want to enter that union. So this could potentially, one, limit the amount of pool that they could work with, and two, also cost them a lot of money. And I don't think corporations just want to say, yeah, we'll throw away all this money. Why the fuck not? Right? And they want to have the freedom to work with whoever they want to work with.
Part of what's made this situation so frustrating for so many people. The perception, maybe the reality, I'm not sure, that Hoyo could fix this with just a single signature on a union contract and just hasn't done it, right? That's what's frustrating people. Had Hoyo gone union a year ago?
What do you mean? Paimon VA said so many actors wanted to join for so long. Yeah, I wonder why the biased individual in the union says how easy it is to be in the union and it only costs $3,000, and then an interview leaked of her saying that she was forced to join the union. Yeah, I wonder why that is, man. Maybe now that the sunk cost fallacy is already there, maybe now she's just accepted it and told everybody else to endure the same fate she did. Wonder why.
Many of the actors working on it
I don't know.
qualified for their health insurance on Genshin alone. A huge, huge benefit for actors. Yes, big corporations take a long time to make these sort of large decisions. But how long is too long? I can't answer that. And neither can people on Twitter. But let's talk about that decision to go union and how it affects more than just Hoyo. Let's spin it around and talk about the actors and try my best to cover all the possibilities here. What happens to actors, both union and non-union, if they do sign an agreement with the union? Contrary to many misinformed Twitter rants, that does not mean that all the non-union actors on the game would get replaced. That's a wildly ignorant claim and one that's very harmful to progress to spread. The real answer is, as you might expect,
Yeah, they can just join.
at this point, if you've been paying any attention at all, it depends. It actually
Yeah, they can just join. Just pay $3,000 and join. It's just that easy.
has to do with the actor's individual situation, as well as where they live, bizarrely enough. Let me clarify. If the actor lives in a right-to-work state, such as Texas, then nothing happens at all. Right-to-work laws within states specifically prevent a union from stopping people from working if they're not a member of the union. They can continue working on Genshin forever. If the actor does not live in a right-to-work state, now we're getting murky. You might have heard the term Taft-Hartley thrown around, and I advise you really just don't look too deep into this because it's confusing. It's a piece of labor law that actually has nothing to do with SAG-AFTRA. It was written in 1947 and designed as a path to both protect people from being forced to join unions, but also offer them more flexible ways to join if they want to. For our purposes, bringing it back to us, consider a Taft-Hartley like a temporary 60-day union pass to allow someone who is non-union to work on a union job. After that, they're considered a must join, at which point, like the status implies, they must join the union or stop working union jobs. I'll break here for a second and tell you that it is significantly more complicated than that. There are caveats as to when the Taft-Hartley triggers, for example.
Another caveat is that this is kind of leading and alluding to there's no reason to not join the union. Being a union is the best thing to do. That's just not true. It's going to cut out a lot of people.
It's also possible to negotiate an individual waiver with the union and say, look, I'm only ever going to work.
It may not cut out everybody, but it's definitely going to cut out enough people where it's kind of a big deal to acknowledge.
This one union job, please don't make me join. I won't do anything else. And they can say yes. There's flexibility here.
See, that's why I'm here, guys. Don't worry.
These, however, are edge cases that are just beyond the scope of this video. This would be a 5-hour video. In the simplest sense, you can do on a Taft-Hartley a very limited amount of union work as a non-union member before you have to join. And that sort of makes perfect sense if you think about it. The union offers actual tangible benefits, even for a single contract. Reaping those benefits without being a union member and paying your dues is like extending your Netflix free trial indefinitely. At some point, you gotta pay for what you're using. But being able to join the union for some actors can be a really good thing. Getting into the union is a stepping stone in many actors' careers, and it can actually be difficult to qualify for the union because, bizarrely, the only way into the union is if you get Taft-Hartley first and then join.
Join us. Join the union. You must join us, brothers. It's good for you. Trust me, I'm in it. We're all in it. And we all love it. Join the union today, or else.
Oh, simple. No, it's not. I don't want to delve too far into union membership here, but it is important to understand and consider why an actor might not want to join the union. The entry fee itself can be steep, depending on where you live. Mine was nearly $4,000 when I joined 10 years ago.
You think voice actors got $4,000 to just throw around? You think that? You think these people just say, I'll just toss out $4,000? Bro, majority of voice actors are poor as shit. You think they just throw that away? Hell no. In this economy, have you seen stocks? Fuck no. That's 10 years ago, man. But Paimon said it was $3K. Well, it depends. Hope this helps.
So that talent would have to know for certain they were going to get at least 5 sessions out of Genshin to make up for that loss. That's about how much money you'd make in 5 union video game sessions.
Yep. And for the main cast, that's probably doable. But then when everybody who wants to voice an NPC wants to get hired, I don't think that's going to cut it. I don't think you might get half a session if you just voicing some NPC. I don't know about that, dude. Doesn't seem like it's that good of an idea now, does it, guys?
Depending on the tier that you're in. Again, complicated. Or that actor would have to feel confident enough that they could book other union work to help them bring that number, that entry fee number, back to 0. You do get pension and health benefits, okay? But you only qualify for health benefits if you earn a certain income of union work, around $30,000 a year.
You must make the union this much money before you get any health benefits. If you don't, then we'll throw you into the pit. You'll get surgery and you won't be able to afford it, so we'll take your heart back out. Yeah, just make $30,000 and you'll get health benefits. As long as you make money for the union, by the union, we are the union.
You would need to do 30 Genshin sessions to make that. Probably more like 35, which makes healthcare sort of a moot point for Genshin actors, unless, again, you're confident you're going to get other union work. You can also break up that entrance fee into a payment plan. So it's not like you'll just get like a $4,000 bill, but it's still $4,000 you might not want to spend. Here's another big one that's become a very hot button issue in the last 8 months. Joining the union also technically prohibits an actor from doing any non-union work, which
So you telling me that we want a company to go union and it's going to cost them $4,000 and they don't get any of the benefits of the union unless they can make the union $30,000 by doing work for the union. And then once they join that union, they can't do any work outside of that union? Man, I wonder why people don't want to join. Man, I wonder why Hoyoverse doesn't want to comply. Hey, I'm going to be real, man. If other CCs can't watch this video because this guy's biased and they're worried about correcting the misinformation and the personal bias is indicated, they're just dumb. All you got to do is listen to when someone's talking and you can understand what point is valid and what point is not. It's very easy, bro. It's very easy.
which statistically comprises nearly 80% of all voiceover work available. We call this rule Global Rule 1, so you might have heard that terminology before. When you're union, you cannot work non-union jobs, period. Yikes. So now I'm gonna start dividing the room here in this video. I'm gonna piss some people off because even if you're a little bit of a detective, you have to be asking this question so far. If you're in the union and you're in Genshin, are you breaking the rules? The answer is, you guessed it, you've been paying attention, it depends. But yes, probably, you are breaking the rules. The it depends part is a caveat in union membership called the financial core or FI core status, which is a complicated legal caveat I don't want to get into here. But if you're FI core, you can legally work non-union jobs as a union member without being penalized. You do lose some surrogate benefits, like the ability to vote in union elections, be on any board or committee in the union, attend union functions, go to union classes, etc. But you do retain health and pension benefits. I say this here because I get that question a lot specifically about health and pension. There used to be a large social stigma associated with being FI core. For example, the SAG-AFTRA official website still calls them scabs. It's a little strange, but as the landscape has changed over the last 20 years, particularly in voice acting, it's not quite the reality anymore. Again, 80% of the work out there for voice actors is non-union. However, if you're a full union member and you work a non-union job and someone reports you and the union decides to take action, you could get in trouble for breaking Global Rule 1. You could get fined, or you could get kicked out of the union, or you could just get a nasty letter in the mail. It kind of depends. So for
Isn't that cool? Man, you get to live in fear for free. That's so cool, man. I wonder why VAs don't want to join this shit. It sounds so great. Isn't that great that 80% of the work out there you can't even do without getting bitched at for? Man, I wonder why people don't want to join it.
a Genshin actor, to avoid that, you could theoretically...
Oh, sorry. Not for free. I mean $4,000. For $4,000, you can eliminate 80% of work you want to do. Man, that's great. I wonder why Paimon keeps on telling everybody to join it. It's probably because she knows she's fucked and she can't get out, which means now she wants everybody to join so they can be fucked with her.
join the union if you're a
Hope this helps.
must join after working for over 60 days on a Taft-Hartley, and then immediately...
Because if a game's going union and you're not union, you should go union. And it doesn't fucking matter what you think because you're not a voice actor and you don't get it. Hope this helps.
immediately go FI core. You're never actually forced into being a full member of the union. You do, in fact, have options. But the landscape is complicated. The truth of it is, though, that many union actors do take that calculated risk without going FI core because they need to work to live. And again, 80% of the work for voice actors is non-union. There are droves of union actors on the Genshin, Triple Z, and Star Rail cast, and many other incredibly popular games that are doing this. Union voice actors, now on-camera actors has a little bit of a different culture that makes zero sense for me to go into here. Union voice actors work non-union jobs fairly often. We also call this working off the card, and historically have not gotten in trouble for it. I have several ideas about why, but again, I'm really trying hard to stick to facts.
Also, calling Zilla Zone 0 Triple Z is so weird.
facts and not speculation here. This isn't something you could definitively, deduce. But during a video game strike, the union might take the opportunity to send a message to a bunch of union actors working off card on really popular non-union games to make a point. And that brings me to the real tricky part, the social side of things. Rules and regulations are one thing, but industry perceptions and relationships are something completely different. I want you to understand that I'm not getting to this here because this is not measurable. It is a feeling. It is actually part of the problem in a lot of ways. So when we start asking questions like, well, why doesn't everyone just go FICOR? Or are people being blacklisted for working on non-union games during the strike? These really
They say, no, Atsu's not a part of it, so no one's getting blacklisted.
deal with non-measurable social feelings that can be very powerful, yes, but fall outside bounds of what I'm trying to do here with this video, which is give as much factual clarity as I can. There are absolutely subjective social effects for doing things like being FICOR, working off the card, not participating in a collective work refusal like what's going on with Genshin right now. There are also subjective social effects for doing things like reporting other actors who are breaking Global Rule 1, which some see as snitching, or getting involved in online arguments that explode in publicity firestorms. But since I can't define those, I really don't feel like they have a place in this video. Anyone who says they have the facts on social repercussions during a time like this is certainly definitively incorrect, because there is no such thing. But I bring it up here to let you know that actors, and I say actors here specifically because it's hard to define like a company's social influence. Actors are being influenced in their individual decisions by these social factors as well, which are very undefinable. These are questions like, if I work on Genshin during the strike, even though I'm FICOR and it's totally legal, will other actors shame me? Or if I refuse to work and then get recast, what happens to my career? Genshin is my only big project right now, and I'm not confident in my—
You can't hate anybody trying to get a bag. If you are not willing to work and someone else is willing to do your work and not complain, you need to accept the responsibility that that is what could happen. And it is nobody else's fault for trying to get into a dream career. It is nobody else's fault. That's why I never guilt clout chasers. Hey man, I would do the same thing. 100%. Don't care.
my ability to get more work. Actors have to deal with the rumor mill just like anyone else, and it unfortunately plays a part, sometimes a large part, in everything we do. When we also run the risk of things like death threats and harassment online, it makes it even more difficult for us to make clear decisions, speak our minds, or even engage in intelligent, curious discourse with our peers or fans. I can't tell you how many of my colleagues talk about this issue behind closed doors, and only behind closed doors, because out in the open, it is just a toxic mess right now. So even if you think you understand what I've said so far about contracts and union membership and the strike, California law, and all of that, there's still the very unmeasurable and very powerful social element to consider. All of the above goes into the single decision of an actor to work or not work on not just Genshin, but many, many projects. I hope you're understanding how complicated this situation is. We're
It's not complicated. It's actually very simple.
dealing with laws in
Then again, I am listening so fucking hard. It's insane.
multiple states, multiple countries. We're dealing with the union. We're dealing with non-union independent contracts. We're dealing with fragmented AI protections, some of which are full.
Also, if you're a voice actor and you're currently working for Hoyo and you're guilting other actors trying to get work for Hoyo, you have no room to talk.
Some of which are not. And worst of all, we're dealing with an insanely popular game with a very enthusiastic base of both actors and fans who are consistently, but not necessarily intentionally, injecting misinformation into this massive, depressing, toxic—
It's intentional by the voice actors, or at least the voice actor. And then, the community, well, man, can you believe that 12-year-olds are spreading misinformation on the internet? I can't believe that. I can't tell you how much shit I've gotten in my career as a content creator for merely speaking the truth. That's what's insane. I have gotten so much heat. Like, why is he saying this? I don't know, because that's what you did. That you did that, so I said that you did that. That's not me being a dick. That's just me telling you how it is.
grist mill that we call social media. Protected by the anonymity of a profile pic of a cucumber with sunglasses or whatever, people then feel free to take small nuggets of truth, wrap them in a giant cocoon of opinion, then set them on fire and toss them around with a lot of vitriolic language behind.
True. Tectone was mean on stream, which means that Tectone is a criminal in real life and probably kills and eats people. Yep, that's what they do. They take one bit of truth and they extrapolate the fuck out of it. It's so toxic.
Because it gets the clicks.
That's the best
And
way to
we're all more
lie.
concerned with dunking on each other than learning
Wrapping a false narrative in a bit of truth is the best way to lie. So many people do it in this community. It's so bad.
about each other. You know, in some ways, this is a very human reaction. We don't want to operate in a gray area. We want things to be simple and clean. We want good guys and bad guys. Will Hoyo go union? Will they add additional AI protections into non-union contracts instead?
Nah, they ain't gonna do that.
Will they simply recast everyone who's refusing to come in? I don't know. I'm not part of these conversations. And to be very frank, Almost everyone who I talked to who said they definitely know about those conversations going on have given me conflicting information, which means that, again, lots of people are saying they know when in fact they don't. And again, if the people on the front lines in this industry don't have all the information, Reddit probably doesn't either. What we do know.
What do you mean? What do you mean Reddit spreading misinformation? What? Nah, they never do that.
Is that nothing has changed for
No, they wouldn't do that.
Have, in fact, recast actors who have refused to come in. They waited a while with their character silent before doing that. What they were waiting for, I'm not totally sure. We do know that Chinese companies tend to not bend to the will of the masses. They don't respond well to mob rule on social media.
They don't care.
We also know that other large Chinese developers have signed union contracts with no problem. Should they protect their actors from AI exploitation? Yes, absolutely. No one will argue that. It's a difficult claim to make that actors shouldn't have agency over their likeness. But will Hoyo do it without some sort of intervention law like California AB 2602 to do it for them? I'm not sure. Will a collective...
I actually think he should have said it depends. Yeah, because corporations are all about bottom dollars and saving money. And morally, corporations should do it. But business-wise, absolutely not. They shouldn't do it. They could be paying somebody $50 for what they're paying somebody to do for $80,000. And here's the thing, guys. Corporations don't give a fuck about morals. Why do you think there's a global passive in cash risk? They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about me. They don't give a fuck about anything. The only thing they care about is money. That's why you vote with your fucking wallet, because that's the only thing they listen to. That's why anybody's saying, dude, this passive is so bad. Anyways, I'm going to pull for it. Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy more. Yep. And I can't wait for them to say, man, I don't know why the Honkai Star Rail game state is so bad, dude. Like, I don't get it, man. Like, dude, I don't get it. What happened? Yeah, man, I wonder.
Work refusal pushed them to do it? Evidence right now is not saying so, no, but that could change. I'm not sure. I don't have a crystal ball on this. Will Hoyo fill those roles that it's recasting?
You're pulling? Hey, go for it, man. But in a year or two, I don't want to see you bitch. I don't want to see nobody. You lose the ability to bitch the moment you pull. And that's the truth. Do what you want, but you better not bitch in a year or two.
We're seeing now that they likely will. They have in the past. They may continue to do so in the future. So actors need to decide individually what they're going to do with all of this data. As you can see, it's not easy. I'm trying very hard here not to comment on specific subsets of this issue about what's going on literally right now with individual people, because a semantic argument really helps nobody at this point. But I will say this. If you're finding yourself on an extreme side of this issue, one way or another, it's probably time to admit to yourself that it's because you don't have all the information. Because once you do have all the information, it's very hard to play this as black and white as social media wants us to play it. If I've done nothing else in this video, what I hope I've done is show you just how confusing this landscape is and how collective action problems can be very difficult to solve.
Nah, it's pretty easy. The voice actors want more money and the corporations don't want to give them more money. And people don't want to be forced to join something that limits their ability to work and also costs them money to get into. And that's pretty much it. Yep, all this is about money. It's pretty straightforward. And that'll do it. It's not that hard. You just got to kind of talk about a couple different points. But sure, it's not black and white, but it's pretty damn straightforward. That's just my opinion. Anyways.